Today we're going to be merciless and we're going to destroy those who play the queen pawn move pawn to d4 with the aggressive Charlick Gambit. I'll show you 4 specific traps that you can use easily to destroy your opponents quickly. First off, you take lead in development and you seize the initiative straight away. Now, if your opponent was going to play some slow positional chess, the London system, it's not going to happen. You're going to be attacking them quickly. So here is the main trap, which you're highly likely to get in your games. So first off, they develop both of their knights, you bring the bishop out, put in some pressure down here, and you're also preparing queenside castling, as that is usually your plan. If he goes pawn e3 to support this knight, you then continue with the queen to e7, and after virtually any move white, you castle queenside. Now, in this position, it is a very rare case where castling is not a good move, even though, typically in an opening you need to castle early, but here it's actually a blunder, because now your rook x-rays the queen, and you can seize the opportunity for this discovered attack, checking their king, then winning the queen. Their king is exposed, you keep attacking, you're ahead material, and you should win this game. Of course, your opponent may try something else, but I'll show you 3 other traps, and they're not just traps, they're actually attacking patterns that you can use. Moreover, one of them can be used even against Carlsen, and it's not clickbait. You'll see it for yourself in a moment. So here white played knight to f3, not pawn to d4, but black still transposed it into the same stuff. He then first played pawn d6, preparing to play e5 so that this pawn is defended, and after white tried to stop it, he then played pawn e5 anyways. The great thing about this opening is that it's more of a system, so you can get to it through different move order. And after white capturing, black goes knight to c6, putting more pressure to this pawn, and white finally settled for the Charlick Gambit. After knight c3, black goes bishop g4, putting some pressure, and if you remember in the main line, white played pawn e3, but this time they decided to be more aggressive. They pushed the pawn 1 square up to e4, and now after knight f6, basically it's all the same. Here the pawn on e4 is a little bit more advanced, but at the same time a little bit more exposed, and black is trying to put pressure with their knight, also with their queen, but fundamentally, black is just using the very same setup. You develop quickly, you castle queenside, because we know that in some variations this rook is going to be active along the e-file. The other thing which is annoying for white here is this pin to their queen. So how do they deal with this queen? Well, they usually play pawn to h3, trying to get rid of this bishop. And you could just move it back, there is nothing wrong with that, but you can also use the fish and pole trap with the move pawn to h5, and it's even more aggressive, it's putting even more pressure on white. Now, what's the idea of this? If you're familiar with the fish and pole trap, it is just it. If white accepts the bait, then after this recapture, now your rook is becoming extremely active along this file, plus the knight is attacked. And if the knight moves anywhere, does it really matter, to e1, then you've got this bishop h2 check together with the rook, or you can reroute your queen to the h-file, something like this, and after queen h5 on the next move you have this battery, so we're going to finish it off after whatever move of white, you've got this queen h1 checkmate. In this case, white player was probably quite advanced, he was familiar with the fish and pole trap, and he played bishop g5. Also a move which is a very interesting inaccuracy very often in these variations. It looks like it's a standard and aggressive move for your opponents, but if you know how to take advantage of it, this bishop becomes more of a weakness of white. Here, black played knight e5. Since white did not want to accept this bishop sacrifice, now black can capitalize on the pin, and he's putting more pressure to this knight. Now he threatens to capture this knight, and after the recapture, to grab this pawn on h3, so that is the threat. Well, I tried to stop it by going knight to bishop to e2, but now, after the trade, there was another cool thing, queen to e5. Quite an unusual double attack. Threatening mate right here, but if white prevents the checkmating threat with pawn to g3, now this bishop on g5 is hanging. So queen takes g5, now black is up a piece, and out of desperation, white decided to finally accept this sacrifice, but now the h-file is open, and we got to that main fish and pole thing. So the bishop needs to move from here, and after bishop to g2, black used the other common attacking idea, bishop takes g3, totally overwhelming white with all these attacking ideas, and now this is a discovered attack of the queen. Black threatens all sorts of checkmates along the h-file, and black won the game within a few moves. By the way, if you want to know how to find attacking moves in any positions, I've got a free masterclass about that. You can check it out by clicking the link below the video in the description. In the next game, black developed the kingside knight first, which is something that I actually don't recommend. We know that our plan is to castle queenside, so it's usually better to develop queenside pieces first, your knight and bishop. But nevertheless, I want to share with you this game because black used pretty cool attacking plan here. After this, white played bishop g5, trying to make use of this pin, and after h6 and bishop h4, queen e7, basically black returned back to the usual plan, e3, knight c6, bishop b5. You see that black didn't have time to play bishop g4, and so white put this pin first themselves, but it doesn't really matter, black neutralized it. And after castles, here's the thing, white thought that having this bishop right here, pinning the knight, is something aggressive, something that would help white, but black turns things around with their own pawn storm. We know that we're going to castle queenside anyways, and therefore this pawn g5 just gives you some extra temples to expand and attack on the kingside. So the bishop needs to move, and after bishop g3, black trades off, castles queenside, and guess what? Now we've got this rook opposing the queen on the d1, which is unpleasant. We know that there are plenty of tactical opportunities there. White try to remove that by going queen to c1, and now black just chucks pawns on the king side with pawn to h5. He's even willing to sacrifice the other one on g5, otherwise black would just keep pushing the pawns forward, and then pawn goes forward to h4, and black manages to develop this devastating attack really quickly. Now he wants rook h8, rook h1 checkmate. Very simple, but there's not much white can do against it. After f3, white tried to escape with the king, but they also fall for this queen to e5, which is actually a triple attacking move, actually across pretty much every direction. Black attacks something. After knight takes f7, black could take this bishop, but queen h2 is even stronger. This goes after the king. Now rook to g8. And you can see that as soon as you opened up files on the king side, usually it's pretty natural and straightforward to attack. Rook g1, queen g3. Now there are plenty of opportunities for black to finish the game off. The most beautiful one is rook to h1, sacrificing the rook, deflecting this defender, and then on the next move threatening queen takes g2, queen takes h1, and it's all over for white. Remember I promised you a trap that you can use to defeat Magnus Carlsen or your sibling? There we go. So here we enter one of the main lines of the Charlick Gambit. You just develop your pieces, they play h3 to neutralize this bishop, and we know that there is this fish and pole trap, or you could just move the bishop back. These would be all the natural moves that all normal humans would play. But instead of that, you can play an absolutely mind-boggling move, pawn to g5, which looks like a mouse slip, looks total nonsense. Your bishop was attacked, and instead of doing anything about this, you just play this weird pawn move, doing nothing, weakening your position. So what is the point? Well, again, it looks like a mouse slip actually, like you intended to play h5, but somehow mouse slip. But after your opponent captures this bishop, you then keep playing with pawn to h5, and basically you drag them into that fish and pole trap, whether they were willing to do it or not. Now, if they do nothing, you take here on g4 yourself, open up the h-file for your rook, which is together with the bishop, creates all sorts of checkmating attacks. If they take on h5 themselves, then you play g4. By the way, what was the point of this move, pawn g5? The point is that this pawn blocks their pawn so that it can't go forward. Like, think about this. If the pawn were not right here, white would just move their pawn forward and keep files closed on the king side. But because your pawn is mechanically blocking it, it is impossible. There's no way for white to keep the position locked on the king side. Either you take it there or they take it here, but either way, the position becomes open and you push it back into the fish and pole stuff. But it's absolutely mind-boggling and absolutely unthinkable for white to figure it out unless they analyze it all with computer up front, which probably no one would because it's a pretty rare sideline. Now, you attack the knight, and after it goes anywhere, you just, let's say they try to block the h-file, you just take it with the rook. Now you've got this bishop, you've got this open file. Basically, you want to stack heavy pieces along the h-file or play bishop h2 and win the game. If they try g3, desperately trying to hold on to their defense on the king side, you don't shy away from sacrificing some more material, and after this capture and queen to e5, you put up this very simple checkmating threat, but there is nothing white can do, even if they are Magnus Carlsen, to stop this checkmating threat. If f4 is played, you capture en passant, renewing the very same threat, and again, white is defenseless. If let's say they take it, then you just keep attacking, and you've probably heard that it's good to keep your knights in the middle of the board, so you do just that with this knight to e4. If you enjoyed this opening and want to try it out but have some questions, what if white plays this or that, I've got this other video where I go more in depth into the Charlick Gambit, and that video probably answers your questions. Also, if you wish to improve your chess level overall, check out the free masterclass by clicking the link up there.